America is one big experiment and also a full-time reality TV show. And on this week's episode, Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, well, he got kicked off the island. The tone police is out here in full force on this incident with the "watch your tone, you can't say that." And I just want to state that on this channel, we do not condone violence of any kind, not even vigilante justice, but sometimes I will make a passing comment about it with a little twinkle in my eye, okay? Now that that's out of the way, here's what happened. Like I said, Brian was targeted in Midtown Manhattan right before 7 a.m. on December 4th. The attack happened outside New York's Hilton Midtown, where the United Healthcare CEO was heading back to speak at an investor conference. It was there that his attacker, in broad daylight, very aware of cameras and knowing that he was being recorded, though wearing a face mask, basically dumped into the CEO, then fled on foot. It was reported later that the bullet casings found on the scene had words written on them like defend, depose, and deny, which is theorized to be in reference to this book about how insurers deny claims and won't pay them. Some folks have speculated that this could be a misdirection sort of move by a professional to paint the motive of the CEO's attacker as like an enraged everyman looking for revenge instead of a professional assassin who was operating under different motives. And look, people are saying he's a professional based on his calm demeanor and his handling of his firearm and his suppressor, but this guy could just be proficient and capable and have nothing left to lose.
The CEO of United Healthcare was killed in a brazen public attack that people are properly calling an assassination. But I'm here to debunk the internet's favorite theory about this, which is that this killing was committed by a professional assassin, something like this guy. Okay, let's watch the video. We'll just watch it through. Now, it had original audio, but the audio is actually just of the guy recording a silent screen, so we're going to cut that. But let's just watch the video, and I'll tell you a bit of what we see as we go through it, and then we'll break it down a little further. Okay, so here's the video. We're going to see the guy come from the left side here. He's hiding between two vehicles. So, shot fired, failed to fire, cycles again, second shot, struggling a bit with the gun, third shot, some further fiddling, some further fumbling, and then he's going to depart the scene. And we are told by police that he was later seen fleeing on an electric bike, an e-bike, which appears to possibly have been a rental. Okay, so why are people saying that this was a professional hit? Well, the internet has some theories. The first point that they're noticing here is this. That appears to be a suppressed firearm. And of course, that's gotten everyone's imagination just running wild. Now, the leading theory out there, or the theory that I'm seeing bandied about a lot, is that this is either a well rod or a VP9, both of which are bolt-action suppressed firearms, and they're sort of they're being posed as like something that uniquely an assassin would own, because the VP9 is a $2,000 gun. Okay. I might have to buy one just to further discuss this, but I don't want to spend $2,000 on this. It's not a VP9, and it's not a well rod. 100% it's not. We can see that from the video. How do we see it? Well, this is the first shot. Let's watch this. What do we see there? Well, we see a great big poof of smoke. See it again. Poof. There we go. And all right. So the VP9 is a bolt-action firearm, which means that when you fire it, you have to operate a little bolt there to make it function again. So what does it not do? Well, it doesn't do that big poof of smoke. So we have conclusively determined it's not a VP9, which means we're looking at some sort of semi-automatic firearm that was modified with a suppressor and which he's having some difficulty with. Let's watch and we'll see his difficulties. There's a fair bit of struggle here. All right. So he fires, and then he has to manually cycle. He has a misfire, manually cycles, fires, and then he's struggling with it, fires again. Now this, one of the things the internet is saying is that he picked up all of his brass because he's a professional assassin. Except that he didn't. He's not wearing gloves, and in fact, he left behind 3 spent casings and 3 unfired cartridges. And the reason why he's doing that is because he's having a lot of trouble. The gun isn't working the way he was hoping. It's not operating in a semi-automatic fashion. He's having to manually cycle it. What's the problem here? Well, when you've got a semi-automatic handgun, each time you fire it, the actual act of firing it, the bullet going off, makes the slide go back and then forward again, and this chambers another round. This, by the way, is an emptied gun. We've got no magazine in it. It has an empty chamber. We're good. The problem is that when you add a suppressor to it, you are disrupting the sort of ordinary function here. And he may also be using subsonic ammunition, which would also mean that there's less power to operate the firearm. There's a spring in this, and that spring has to be overcome for that to properly cycle. So the weight of the suppressor on this, or the reduced power of the cartridges, can cause it to not cycle properly. Now, this can be mitigated by using a booster or a Nielsen device, or otherwise calibrating your gun. But he didn't do that. And we can tell he didn't do that because he's having to manually cycle it each time. Now, people have said, oh, he's a professional. He's expecting for that to happen. Well, okay, let's watch. Is he expecting that to happen? So he fires. Misfire. Fires. You see what he's doing right there? You see how much he's expecting it? We'll watch it again. Slap, slap, cycle, cycle. He wasn't expecting that, because when you're expecting it to need manual cycling, you're not sitting there smacking the gun and futzing with it. You're just That's clearly the indication of somebody whose gun is not running the way they were expecting. He didn't test this gun before he got out there. I'm guessing he probably owned the gun beforehand and then put the suppressor on it, but never actually tested the combination of gun and suppressor. Problem. So, people are saying that he was expecting this, but he also leaves behind 3 unfired cartridges, which suggests that he's cycling the gun, probably repeatedly, in an effort to try to get it working the way he was expecting. This is not the mark of a professional. However, what we do see is that he is proficient with a firearm. Let's watch that. So here we go. He knows how to deal with a malfunction, and when the gun fails to cycle, he's fairly quick to manually cycle it himself. So I would say this is a guy who has used guns before, probably a fair bit. We might find that this guy's got a military background, or a police background, or just that he's somebody who likes guns and shoots them a fair bit, not somebody who just bought a gun and, for this purpose. So I don't think we're looking at a professional. What I think we're looking at here, and I'll just say, one of the reasons why I don't think we're looking at a professional is that he's both too skilled and not skilled enough. What do I mean? Well, most professional hits, most paid contract killings are done by idiots. They're done by somebody with a meth addiction who can be told, hey, we'll forgive some of that money you owe if you just go do a thing. Or we'll give you some money for meth if you go do a thing. This does not appear to be that, because the guy's got some skill. He doesn't just if that was the circumstance, I would expect somebody who just kind of walks up to him with an unsuppressed firearm, unloads on him, and runs away, and doesn't really have a plan. Not what we're seeing here. This guy was waiting. He had his target sort of in line. He took some preparation for this.
If you don't know, this doesn't, as far as we know, doesn't directly connect to his killing, but it's important information. In February, the technology company Change Healthcare, a United Healthcare Inc. subsidiary, was breached by hackers. In February, the technology company Change Healthcare, a United Healthcare Inc. subsidiary, was breached by hackers, causing prescriptions to go unfilled and big backups at pharmacies. It ended up costing the company $872 million. It also ended up, according to Reuters, it ended up exposing 100 million people information. The February hack at United Health's tech unit Change affected the personal information of 100 million people, U.S. Health Department's website showed. Okay, so got a big hack of one of its subsidiaries. I'm going to play this video. It's actually from TikTok of someone who works directly in the health insurance industry. She had a lot of information on this hack and how, in reality, United Healthcare actually capitalized on the hack in a way that defies logic, how this is even legal in America. But in fact, we are the United Corporations of America, so apparently it is legal. Buckle up. It's a little long, but this is really important information.
I'm going to talk about United Healthcare. I am not going to talk about what happened to their CEO yesterday because I can't be honest about how I feel about it. And if I can't be honest, then I'm just not going to talk about it. But I'm going to give you some facts about it because I work with insurance and people should know. People should know these things. So United Healthcare, they own Optum Health, they own Change Healthcare. There's 158 subsidiaries underneath of United Healthcare, some of which are overseas, and most of those are pharmaceutical services. So yes, they also are part of Big Pharma. So now they're insurance, Big Pharma. Change Healthcare. If you don't know what that is the service that processes the claims from the provider to the insurance company so the provider can get the pittance of money that the insurance company is going to pay them for their services that have been rendered. Earlier this year, Change Healthcare got hacked. It's almost been a year now. They still aren't completely back up and running. So when this happened, United Healthcare, I know y'all think doctors sit on piles of cash. That's not how it works. They have to be getting the insurance money in on a regular basis to keep their money flow going. Well, when you can't send your claims in because Change Healthcare has been hacked and you can't mail it in and you have to go around all these, the doctors weren't getting paid. Their bank accounts were empty. So a lot of them were going under. So United Healthcare went out and was like, hey, we can help you out. We'll buy your practice, your hospital, your urgent care. And they went and they bought them. So now they're insurance. Now they're pharmaceutical. Now they own the system that processes the claims. Now they own the providers that use their insurance. The providers are owned by United Healthcare and getting paid from United Healthcare claims. You know they're already in trouble with the DOJ already because of all of this. Like, if this is not a monopoly, I don't know what is. So in 2023, their total revenue was $371.6 billion, 14.6% increase from 2022, and $22.4 billion in profit in 2023. They paid out $281.4 billion in claims in 2023. But let me tell you this. United Healthcare is the main insurance for Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare plans. That is the main, is 29% enrollment is United Healthcare under those three things. Those are all government-run healthcare systems. And United Healthcare is the main insurer for all of them.
Brian Thompson, being the CEO of United Healthcare, it's not just the fact that he is the CEO of a company that has basically slowly killed people in the United States. They are terrible at processing and paying claims. And I know this from firsthand experience. I'll get into that in just a second. But it's not just that. there was something else about Brian Thompson, and shout out to James Lee for this video. I want to get into this here as well, because something that James Lee points out is that Brian Thompson was also apparently under investigation. Listen to this here.
This might be the story that unites all of us Americans. It's got something for everybody. Before I go on, I just want to say that this was a real human being with a real family, and we shouldn't be celebrating anybody's offing. That being said, a lot of people are. These comments are quite joyful, one might say. Possibly warranted, because United Health is quite an awful company. Here they're denying coverage, also overbilling people, all kinds of shenanigans. But let's talk about the actual crime here. Was this a hit or just some disgruntled person whose coverage was denied? 80-90% of online commenters are saying this is a professional hit job. The New York Times also indicates premeditation. This guy apparently knew exactly where he was going to be and waited for him for a long time, which leads us to possible motivations. Shipwreck dissected this beautifully this morning. Basically, the CEO, Brian Thompson, was under investigation for potentially defrauding investors. He and other executives had insider information that they were under investigation by the DOJ because the company was getting involved in some sort of monopoly scheme. Here's when that investigation started. Insiders started dumping shares, including Thompson right here on February 16th, 2024, for a tune of $15 million, right before the news came public and the stock took a nosedive. And with the stock price jumping up after this news was announced, it's hard to argue that the shareholders were not happy, or not unhappy. We're happy. They were happy. And guess who happens to be the top recipient of United Health Group's lobbying dollars? It's none other than Kamala Harris. Another stick it to you from everybody else who wants to pile on to the most unpopular presidential candidate in U.S. history. So on one side, you got the working class laughing at this news because they hate CEOs and they hate how corporations run America. And on the other side, you got the ruling class, the shareholders, apparently pleased because he defrauded them of their investment. On one final note, I almost forgot, this is also great for independent journalism. Some guy on the internet who tracks city bikes, he apparently was able to trace which city bike dock the shooter left the bike at before the police knew even what was going on, and made that information public. Meanwhile, legacy media is regurgitating the exact same talking points over and over because they're too lazy to do any original reporting. Anyway, I think the theme here has to be anti-corruption, right? If you are a fiduciary, don't defraud your investors. And if you're an insurance company, don't deny coverage to your customers. And we can all just kind of live our lives in peace. I think America is ready for a redemption. Let's all be a part of this change.
So to that point, things are definitely starting to change. It could be that the person, the shooter, it could be that maybe he knew or had a family member or a friend that may have lost their life because United Healthcare did not cover them fully when they should have. We don't know, and we may never know. But the reality is this brings up a question about the system, right? When we talk about the system, I want you to see what was written on the ammunition. Look at this. Police release new photos as they search for the gunman who killed United Healthcare CEO. It says here, here's another picture, by the way. Another picture here where you can see a little bit more of his face, but he still has the hood on. Like he literally has on, I think, is this a green jacket or a gray jacket? If it's green, that kind of does remind you of Arrow. But he has the hood on his head, still trying to protect his image. This part right here, it says that the ammunition that was used was emblazoned with the words deny, defend, and depose. This is according to 2 law enforcement officials on Saturday. So let's think about that for a second. If you're United Healthcare, deny the claim, defend the lawsuit, depose the patients. So this obviously was apparently personal to the shooter. If I were to make an educated guess, probably personal. And what does that mean about the system? I want to remind you of a movie I saw many years ago. It was called John Q. If you saw this movie in the chat, let me know. If you've seen the movie John Q, raise your hand. Let me know if you saw the movie. If you have not seen this movie, you need to watch it. Because John Q is about, and Denzel Washington does a great job here. I think it's probably one of his best performances. Everybody points to Training Day, but I think he was phenomenal in this movie. Denzel Washington has a son in the movie. His son needs serious surgery that costs thousands of dollars. Insurance is not going to cover even the vast majority of it. So Denzel Washington decides to take matter into his own hands. I'm not going to get into the details if you haven't seen it, so I want you to see the movie. I remember the first time I saw this movie and I said to myself, once again, this is a message to everyone in this country, just how corrupt and unjust the healthcare system is in this country. No one should have to sit there and choose whether or not you're going to let your child die, or whether or not you're going to have to go out there and beg for thousands and thousands of dollars so that they can get the surgery that they need to save their life. But that's the United States. This is the country that we live in. We don't have health care for everyone in this country. And I can tell you a personal experience. My first job out of college, my first full-time job, was in healthcare. I worked in billing. And you know what my job was? I had to contact insurance companies that did not pay. This is why I'm very familiar with United Healthcare. Out of all the insurance companies that I dealt with over the years, United Healthcare and Cigna were the worst ones about payment. United Healthcare was the worst. Most of the time, when I had to pick up the phone to make a call and ask them to pay, it was United Healthcare who did not want to pay for patients' claims.
The media cannot stop talking about how beautiful the shot was. And after they put out the picture of the man who did the shooting, the internet couldn't stop obsessing with how beautiful his smile was. But this is a very serious crime. A man was murdered. A man who's CEO of a company with the most claims denied out of every single other health insurance company. That's right. Most, 1/3 of the claims that are made with United Healthcare are denied. So it makes you wonder how many countless people have died as a result of Brian Thompson. The bullet casings left behind had writing on it, words often used by lawyers and insurance companies to deny claims. That's so badass. I mean, that is such a bad thing to do. To kill people and to leave cool calling cards behind. It's really, really bad. So bad. Sick. Just so sick. So sick.
At this point, everyone has heard about the assassination of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. That in itself is unprecedented. What is equally unprecedented is how much people don't care. I have yet to see anyone online posting saying, we got to find this guy, we got to get him off the street. I have, however, seen people making an argument, doing the hear me out thing, women talking about how attractive he is, people calling him Robin Hood, people quite literally making fan art, and I don't think it's that difficult to figure out why. I don't think there's a single person in this country who hasn't themselves or had someone very, very near and dear to them suffer from the absolutely abysmal thing that is privatized healthcare in this country. People every day are denied for the most ridiculous reasons. Sometimes, even though they should be given care, just denied to deny them in the hopes that they will die before they can actually get the services that they have paid for. So when a man who is quite literally the face of that was murdered, the nation, for the most part, seemed to collectively shrug, with a few echoing old Chris Rock sketches, saying, I'm not saying he should have done it, I'm just saying I understand. I can certainly understand why someone could be driven to do something like that, but also I can't condone it because it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't address the problem that is the American healthcare system and how it is privatized for profit. Privatized healthcare is a lot like the Hydra, and to me, killing that CEO is a lot like cutting one of their heads off. It does nothing. It certainly doesn't hurt the monster. In fact, some might argue it makes it stronger.
A suspect has been arrested for the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. This happened this morning in Altoona, Pennsylvania, which is in the western part of Pennsylvania. I have been there 2 or 3 times, actually. Happens to be, fun fact, was number 3 on Hitler's bombing list back during World War II because it was the steel crossings of the world. Weapons ran through Altoona because Altoona was a major manufacturer of steel, which obviously was used in the war. So he was arrested in Altoona. His name, again, suspect. His name is Luigi Mangione. Here's some details. This is from Ken Klippenstein, a journalist who's been reporting on this since it happened last week. Some details about Luigi Mangione per public records I've reviewed. He's a Philadelphia resident. He worked for the University of Pennsylvania Board of Trustees, and he was registered to vote in 2016. So lives in Philly and worked for University of Pennsylvania. Smash the like button, by the way. Share this live stream. Obviously, this is breaking. The NYPD commissioner just spoke a short while ago, so I will update you as we go. But definitely smash the like button, because I hope this story is not going to go away just because he's been caught. This shooter, and if this is him again, I'll use the word suspect. He has kind of awoken a sleeping beast, which is the millions and millions of victims of the predatory, evil, for-profit healthcare system. We don't know the full story yet, but based on a manifesto that was found on him, it seems, as we expected, his motives were clear, an animosity and hatred towards private healthcare. I'm going to guess that they're not going to release his manifesto, but they should. I don't think they want to release his manifesto because they don't want to further pour gasoline on the flames, which is the American people, the starving, sick masses. But let me give you more details. Here's live updates. Man arrested in Pennsylvania had a ghost gun this is from CNN, Colin. Man arrested, I'll give you time to scroll down on that document. Man arrested in Pennsylvania had a ghost gun that may have been 3D printed. He was found with a ghost gun by local police at a McDonald's. He was in possession of a ghost gun that had the capacity of firing a 9mm round and a suppressor. Kenny added that the gun may have been 3D printed and that police will learn more details after ballistics testing. Ghost guns are untraceable, self-assembled firearms, often put together with parts sold online, sometimes in as little as 30 minutes. The weapons sometimes referred to by officials as, quote, privately made firearms, or PMFs, do not have serial numbers, making them all the more difficult to track and regulate. As part of his manifesto, which they have not released in full, quote, it had to be done, says documents found on Person of Interest. Among the lines in the 2-page document found on, quote, strong person of interest, Luigi Mangione, are the following 2 quotes. These parasites had it coming, and I, quote, do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done, a police official who has seen the document told CNN. In the note, Mangione says he acted alone and that he was self-funded. The document railed against the healthcare industry and suggested violence is the answer, according to the official. Before I go further and smash that like button, share this live stream. By the way, we're up 13,000 subscribers since Friday. So welcome if you're new here. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Hey, Colin, do you think if a brown or immigrant shot down anyone in America and they were caught and had a manifesto on them, you think more than a few words would be released right away?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I was trying to remember. I'm pretty sure each time there's been a manifesto, they usually release the full thing unless there's like private details or something like that, or if there's some weird altered factor like that. But other than that, I'm pretty sure they usually release them pretty quickly, or at least a pretty good summary. I
mean, in fairness, this happened this morning, so benefit of the doubt, maybe they'll release more. I'm going to strongly suspect not, because I don't think, to the elitists on CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times, they are aghast. And we've done videos the last few days during this manhunt. They're aghast that so many Americans are gleeful and happy about this. So I don't think they want to release more. For those of you who didn't know, for a long time, they were trying to suppress Osama bin Laden's manifesto. people in the military and, military industrial complex were angry that it was resurfacing on TikTok, so that, people on TikTok who might have never saw it saw the motivation for bin Laden. Not that I'm approving of what bin Laden did, but these folks, they want this predatory for-profit healthcare system to continue. By the way, and we might do a deeper dive into this, a lot of CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, and all these media outlets, a lot of their advertisers are Pfizer and United Healthcare and Aetna. You think they want to release manifestos to further cover and elaborate to the masses what these companies do to people? And speculation, but I'm presuming this suspect didn't just willy-nilly choose Brian Thompson. I'm assuming he or his loved ones had experience with United Healthcare. Could be wrong. We'll find out. By the way, this, he had to kind of know the movements of Brian Thompson. So it remains to be seen whether he was acting alone. So far, that's what they're saying, but we don't really know. But I want to repeat, quote, these parasites had it coming. And I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done. He says he acted alone and that he was self-funded. Okay, we'll see. But to be clear, again, I hate that I have to keep disclaiming it. I'm not saying go get your guns and shoot up people, but other upset, angry people, whether it's against pharmaceutical and healthcare companies, whether it's against the fossil fuel industry, whether it's against the military industrial complex and defense contractors, whether it's against Silicon Valley, Elon Musk, name your person. They are going to look at this and say, wow, in the presidential debates, healthcare was not even really mentioned. In politics, since Bernie, Biden ran on a public option, abandoned it very quickly. In the remaining years, it's been very little coverage, discussion on healthcare. And this guy, again, suspect, he'll have his day in court. He was able to unleash, a tsunami of reaction all over the country, all over the world, really. So other people might be convinced to kind of do some copycat efforts. Now, as I'm going to tell you in a minute, corporate America, whether it be private healthcare, Wall Street, they are right now, the phones are off the hook at security firms. They are going to build a higher, wider fortress around these companies, these CEOs. It's going to be very hard to get to them. However, that doesn't mean this is not going to motivate people to do more, because they're saying, hey, we've been protesting. We've been doing a healthcare protest. We've been voting. We've been doing everything you tell us we're supposed to do in a democracy, and nothing's happening. Well, this guy, with one action, was able to, awaken this sleeping beast. So, again, I'm not condoning violence. I'm not calling for it. But, what was it JFK said? Let me get the quote. JFK, peaceful revolution, violence is inevitable. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible will make violent revolution inevitable. Violent revolution inevitable.